Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan Herring's Locked On Badgers. A couple rants I want to get off my chest, a couple things that are making me kind of tear my hair out a little bit. Plus, what changed in the Northwestern game offensively and specifically? What are some of the changes we saw from Bobby Engram? All that and more on today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Ryan Herring's Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. And I am so glad that you're here, whether you're on the YouTube, whether you're listening on the podcast. Really, really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Time is the most valuable thing any of us has. And for you to give some of it to this show is phenomenal. And it's so appreciated, as always, as we continue to build this Badger community. Let's get into it. So, a couple rants. Maybe rant's not the right word. I don't know. A couple things I want to get off my chest. That's hard to do when I have a bunch of people on. It's hard to do in the wake of a game. I was going to do a show on Friday. I was actually going to talk about this, and I got sick and I just couldn't get it out. So, the first thing I want to talk about is, in the wake of Paul Chryst being fired, there was a ton of reactions, right? A ton of articles, a ton of post-ops, a ton of what happened type stuff, a ton of, oh my goodness, the sky's falling type reaction stuff, et cetera, et cetera. All that stuff happened. And in the midst of that, Jesse Temple, who is one of the best, not just Badger writers, he's one of the best college football writers out there. Jesse Temple's incredible. And he's the reason I subscribe to The Athletic. I have no issues ever trying to promote or advertise other Badger sources, media, people, personalities, because the more smart voices we have out there, the better. And Jesse Temple is one of those smart voices. And he released an article that on The Athletic that was really about what led up to Paul Chryst being fired. A lot of inside details on quotes from parents, recruiting issues, that kind of stuff. And I read it. And again, it's a really good article because it's Jesse Temple. But then I'm seeing people in the media, fans, and a lot of people reacting basically with, oh, I get it now. I understand why he was fired. And I just was kind of ripping my hair out because a lot of that stuff wasn't new. Like that again, Jesse Temple's article was awesome. Because he's awesome. He writes really, really well and he puts a lot into it. But the idea that he and there's a lot more detail in that article. There's quotes from parents, but the main course of that article, the big dishes of that article, we already knew for the most part. Paul Chryst didn't refill his recruiting department for 9 months because he said everyone's plate is kind of full and it's already full. And it was Paul Chryst's weird way of talking about it. And now people are having more of an issue with it. Where were you guys? The people who are now saying, aha, he should have been fired. We've been talking about that. And again, I haven't even been saying he should be fired, but these issues that suddenly are cropping up and people are using it to pile on the fact that he should have been fired. We've been talking about that stuff for a while. Where's people been? Other people maybe in the media or other fans who are now latching on to those reasons and saying, oh, yeah, he should have been fired. That was terrible. We knew all that stuff. And it's just kind of crazy to me that it's all kind of this coming up post-op. People should have had an issue with that recruiting department a long time ago, the way it was filled. He should have had more heat on him. People should have asked more questions. And quite frankly, there should have been more pressure internally from the administration to fill this recruiting department. Whether that was from Barry Alvarez, Chris McIntosh, you can't go that long without a recruiting department. And you can't put Eric Johnson in charge of it, a guy who admittedly he shouldn't be in charge of a recruiting department. So it's just frustrating to me when we've been talking about that stuff, the lack of attention to detail to recruiting, the little things around the program. Some of the questionable hires, like when Al Johnson, and I think he's a great guy, by all accounts, a great guy, but Wisconsin should probably be shooting for a running back coach who's coached running backs before, or a tight end coach who's coached tight ends before. And we talked about all of this, and now it's just being thrown up into the ether all these reasons, this is why I should be fired. And people are yeah, I agree. Yeah, but we should have been talking about this before, and then the recent performance is the recent stuff we should be talking about. All that other stuff's been happening for a while. And it just didn't seem like people were interested in talking about it. And I don't know why, so it kind of just makes me tear my hair out because I feel like we could have been having these intelligent conversations before the car crashed into the guardrail, right? We could have been saying, hey, and we were saying it. And it's not like I'm trying to take a victory lap here. Other people were saying it too, but a lot of people were frankly just it looked oblivious to this stuff, even though they knew it was happening and they almost refused to address it or talk about it or discuss it. I don't know. It's just strange to me. So that's one rant. Get that off my chest. Rant number two, I had so many comments from people. We did our live therapy show, the reaction show to the Northwestern game. By the way, the 42-7 beatdown of the Wildcats reaction game. And we had a bunch of comments from people. It was probably split about 50-50 with this is really exciting. The direction looked great. Awesome effort in game one of Jimmy Leonhard. And the other half was kind of like, whoa, pump the brakes. It's Northwestern. Yo, bigger tests are to come. Yo, there's Northwestern's terrible. You can't take anything from this game. So yeah, my second kind of rant is, yeah, you should take something from this game. I don't want to hear that it's just Northwestern, so it doesn't matter. If you go on the road and beat a Big Ten team by 35 points, it matters. It doesn't matter who it is. They did to a bad team what good, talented teams should do to bad teams, right? Like they beat them by 35. What more could you have wanted? I'm not saying overreact to Northwestern, but what I am saying is react to it. Don't just ignore it. It's a data point. It's a data point in Jim Leonhard's first game, and things changed, which I'm going to get into in the next segment, but I'm very much a process person, not a results person. And, it's kind of like if you make the right decisions and you have the right processes in place, the results will typically follow. And it's what frustrated me. We talked about it on this show. It's what frustrated me so much with Paul Chryst coming out of, early in the Washington State game where he went for it on fourth down and they failed to get it. And he came back and said, it really bothered me. And I'm like, no, you took the wrong lesson out of that. That was the right decision. The process was correct. If you keep making the right process decisions, the results will typically follow. And of course, he took, in my opinion, the wrong lesson out of that. And then he didn't go for it in fourth down when he should have against Ohio State, because I think he just decided he wasn't going to do it anymore. So what I'm saying with that, long story short, is you should be a little excited about the Northwestern game because the processes were different. What we did offensively was a little different. It's not just that we beat Northwestern. It's that we beat them by evolving and by doing different things and having different concepts and having different tempo and points. So those things are repeatable. They're different, right? And it gives you, at least it gives me, listen, I'm not going to tell anybody how to feel. If you want to not pay any attention to it and say it's Northwestern, I don't care until I see them play 2 or 3 games. That's totally fine. I am not here to tell anybody how to feel. What I am saying is I would hesitate to just ignore it because it's Northwestern, because the way we saw them play, the way we saw them beat Northwestern is different than how Paul Chryst teams are playing Northwestern or playing any team, quite frankly. It's changed. The process has changed. So it doesn't always mean the results are going to work out. Like, obviously Northwestern stinks. Obviously the tougher challenges are coming up, but you also just in game one, after a week of turmoil, destroyed a team where you traditionally have always struggled. And quite frankly, would the Paul Chryst team of this year have gone into Evanston and won 42-7? I'm asking, take a second, ask yourself, no, it wouldn't have. Paul Chryst team of this year was not going in Evanston and winning by 35. So it's okay to have a little optimism and hope. The other thing I would say, and I just want to point this out for the people who are kind of chiming in off the live show and saying, hey, I think you guys need to pump the brakes a little bit. The live therapy shows are meant to be, we're fans. We're coming off bad losses, good losses, great wins, mediocre efforts, great efforts, whatever it is. We're going to be a little more excited or a little more sad, right? That's kind of the point of the show, right? To mourn together, celebrate together. So yeah, the reactions are going to swing a little more wild immediately in the aftermath of games. I freely admit that, right? And then the rest of the week, I like to think we're a little more measured. I like to think we take a second, take a breath, take a step back, and really look at where we're at on our stances. But that reaction show is what it is. It's a reaction show. So, understand if you're coming into the comment section of that, when you just won 42-7 in a road game in Jimmy Leonhard's first, coaching performance as a head coach, and Graham Mertz looked like the Mertz Heisman, people are going to be stoked and excited. So just take that into account as well. Those are kind of my 2 quick rants. A lot of these warning signs with Paul Chryst have been there for a minute. And quite frankly, as amazing as Justin Temple is, and he's incredible, we knew that, and we should have probably been talking about that more. And for some reason, a lot of people just didn't want to talk about those issues. The other thing I would say is it's okay to react. It's okay to react and be a little excited after you just mollywopped Northwestern on the road. So yeah, wanted to get those 2 things off my chest. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little specifically what changed formation-wise, what were some of the wrinkles the Badgers added in offensively to really keep the Wildcats on their toes. That's coming up on Locked On Badgers. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Upside. Listen, I went to get breakfast this morning. Yeah, I get the scrambled, the omelet. I get extra cheddar because I'm a big cheese guy. I get bacon, sausage, tomatoes, $20 with the tip. Just me, just for the omelet. So we've all been there. Prices are going up, cringing at the pump, eye-popping checks at the restaurant. That's why I use Upside. Upside's an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, dines out, basically what we do every single day. With every purchase, I'm earning cash back thanks to Upside. It's easy to use, and it is not too good to be true. You get real cash back, better than credit card rewards for the stuff you do every single day anyway. What are you going to do with all your cash back? Think about having a few extra bucks in the wallet without doing any extra work, really. All the normal things you do. Again, I got to decorate my walls. I keep saying it. I have a plan in place to move my office around a little bit, decorate the walls, buy some Badger swag. That's what I'm going to do with some of my extra cash. And we have a great promo code, $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. And you can claim that offer as soon as you go to the site, get the app, sign up. Again, that's download the free Upside app, use promo code LOCKED, LOCKED, and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back. First purchase, $10 or more. Use promo code LOCKED. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Once again, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate y'all. We continue to build this community. Great stuff coming up. We got Dylan Graff, Basketball Insider, coming up. We got a crossover with the Michigan State Locked On guy. He's incredibly sharp. Really like him. More recruiting talk. Guys, we got a bunch coming. So I really do appreciate all y'all so much. If you enjoy the show, take a second, hit subscribe. It really does help. Let's get into it. So we pretty immediately saw the Badgers change some things up, right? An offense that had really predominantly on 1st and 10 runs the ball. First pass, you go 3-step drop to DK. Okay, first down. The Badgers kept 7 in the block. Northwestern brought 5. Jackson Aker picked up a blitz pretty well, stoned the linebacker, got pushed back a little bit, but had a good pocket, good release. First down, we're in rhythm. And that's some of the stuff we've talked about for a long time. Let's get Mertz in rhythm. Let's give him a couple of easy throws, right? Let's start off the game. And this was a game, Northwestern, that first play, they got 8 in the box. They're blitzing. They're expecting Braylon Allen. They're expecting the dose of the sledgehammer. And instead, first down, just a quick out, nice, simple, easy pitch and catch, good pocket, first down. We pretty quickly saw jet sweeps to Vinny Anthony, who, if you remember, we talked about some of the recruiting stuff. The receiver room, Alvis Whitted, by the way, finds dudes. Like, I hope that's the guy. I don't know how the coaching transition is going to work out. He finds dudes. And Vinny Anthony immediately, first drive, jet sweep to the left. Really nice run by him. And he was a playmaker in high school. He was a guy who really was a big player. He broke 2 or 3 tackles, gets first down. So we're already seeing a couple new wrinkles. And again, keep in mind, it's not like this offense had a bunch of time to put in something new. If there's something different Jim Leonhard wanted Bobby Engram to tweak, or if there's something Bobby Engram really wanted to do, that maybe Paul Chryst wasn't as on board with or as enamored with. This wasn't a long week to get a lot of that in, considering they had to deal with some of the fallout, player emotions. So we already got a couple things going on. Let's go second quarter, 2nd and 4. Badgers come out in 21 personnel. Okay, so 2 running backs, 1 tight end. And again, this is 2nd and 4, second quarter. They're in the gun. The Badgers just don't go into the gun very often on 2nd and short. They're doing it in the second quarter. They run some RPO action. That's another thing I really want to hit on. The RPO stuff is new. Okay, that's not something we've been doing offensively. It's something you see Minnesota do with a ton of success. Tanner Morgan does it all the time. Illinois does it. Ohio State does it, although they take more deep shots. But a lot of teams do this. That RPO, Badgers came in, RPO. They released Akron to the flat. It was really nice. So they had Akron and Braylon Allen. Jackson released into the flat, into the route. Braylon Allen stayed in. He took the kind of fake run handoff, stayed in the block. And then Graham Mertz threw a gorgeous throw to Jack Eschenbach, first down. And again, we ran that RPO action several times in this game. That was a clear new wrinkle, and it was something that Northwestern wasn't ready for. They didn't prepare for. It's on tape now. Now teams are going to have to prepare for that. It's a new wrinkle, and it's another way to really get Graham Mertz some easy throws. Like, we got 2 or 3 just really simple throws off this action because the defense is crashing down. They're trying to take away Braylon Allen. They're trying to take away that Wisconsin staple. So we're playing off of that a little bit more in this game already. And I think that's really encouraging. Again, that's what I talked about in the first segment when I kind of went on that process versus results rant. We're seeing different processes now. And whether that will always lead to better results, who knows? Like, you can run a great play, and we're going to talk about one later that I really like that didn't work out. Great plays don't always turn into, great results. But if the process continues to improve, you're going to generally get better results. So that's why I'm optimistic off this game. Let's keep going. 1st and 10, same drive in the second quarter. Again, first down, play action, deep shot to Skylar Bell. We saw more play action on first down in this game. Keep going, 2:33 left, 1st and 10 at the 15. So 1st and 10 at the 15, 2:33 left. Okay, play action. Northwestern is 8 in the box. They actually end up 9 players on Northwestern's defense step up to take care of the run. This is still a 0-0 game. 2:33 first quarter, 1st and 10 at the 15. Again, how often with the previous regime, and this is not a dance on Paul Chryst party or like grave party here, but we do need to acknowledge things have changed. And the Badgers just typically aren't going play action at the 15-yard line on 1st and 10. So here they go, play action. You get 9 Northwestern players that bite up. Easy throw, Graham Mertz, touchdown, Skylar Bell. Okay, just like that. Let's go to the second quarter. You're up 14-0 now. 4:50 left. It's 2nd and 2. Okay, up 14-0, 2nd and 2. Badgers put Mertz in the gun with 2 backs. Easy check down pass in the flat to Braylon Allen. Again, this isn't like a mind-blowing play. It's not like we're scheming up. It's like Kyle Shanahan here or something. But 2nd and 2, we put Mertz in the shotgun and just threw an easy pass into the flat. That's new. Like, it's not like we've never thrown to backs before, but typically the last couple of years on 2nd and 2, we're not going shotgun and throwing just a simple throw into the flat. And again, these are passes that get Mertz in rhythm. They're easy pitch and catch. They're there all day because Northwestern is stacking the box because it's 2nd and 2. So it's really nice. These are just tendency breakers, right? Where the defense suddenly on 2nd and 2 can't just assume. And we come out with 2 running backs. Instead of coming out 2 running backs and going, into the pro style I form, anything like that, we go 2 running backs, shotgun, easy throw, Braylon Allen, first down. Let's go to the third quarter. This one I really liked. Third quarter, 28-0, 6 minutes left. It's 2nd and 4. And again, we come out in 11 personnel. So 1 running back, 1 tight end. And we hand it off. The play didn't work. But again, we're getting unpredictable now. This is where I said, not every play call you like works, but now we're getting unpredictable. This actually didn't work because Jack Nelson got beat off his block. He didn't get the edge. But now, again, it's 2nd and 4. We come out shotgun after earlier in the game in a similar situation, being in shotgun and throwing into the flat. Now we go shotgun and we hand off 2nd and 4. Again, we're just creating some tendency issues where the defense can't automatically know what's coming up. Let's come into the fourth quarter. I got one more here. And again, I'm sorry if this reads kind of dry coming into like a play-by-play, but I just want to point out some of the things that I thought were different, some of the tendencies that it looked like Bobby Engram was maybe purposely trying to break. So fourth quarter, up 28-0 at this point. 1st and goal to 7. Badgers come out in 10 personnel. 1 running back, no tight ends, 3 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. So we're going 4 receivers, no tight ends. It's 1st and goal at the 7, up 28-0. There's no way in the last year and a half, last 2 years with Paul Chryst, if you're up 28 points and you have a 1st and goal at the 7, are you coming out with 1 running back, no tight ends, and 4 receivers? There's just no way. So come out in 10 personnel, 1st and goal to 7. Chez released into the flat. We just went 5-man protection, so we released everybody into the route pattern. Protection holds up great. Mertz hits DK in the back of the end zone. Really great throw. That's kind of where he cleared all the way to the back. Mertz lofted it over his head. That made it 35-0. So just to recap all of this, already there were more throws on first down. There were more easy throws from Mertz off RPO, off 2nd and 4 into the flat, right? And then there were situations, 1st and goal type situations, 1st and 10 at the 15 situations where, we're coming out, we're going into the gun and spreading the defense out on non-obvious passing situations and letting Mertz, have the opportunity to really see that field and putting defenses in a spot where they can't really figure out what we're doing. One of the other things I really liked is breaking the huddle with the 2 running backs, but then going into the gun and using both those running backs either as blockers, RPO action, releasing them into the flat. Again, it just feels like a better way to utilize the weapons. And quite frankly, it feels like a much better way to get Mertz into rhythm. And we saw that. We saw that in one game. Now, again, if you saw my previous section, it's Northwestern. I'm not making a mountain out of the Northwestern molehill. But you can't ignore it because we saw different things. We saw a different approach and we saw a different way to attack defenses. So that's kind of some of the differences that I saw. If you had to break it down, it's the RPO action, which is definitely different. A couple new players involved, Vinny Anthony, new formation, especially down in the goal line. They definitely utilized the shotgun, pistol, a little bit more, that kind of stuff. Put the running backs in the backfield alongside Mertz and allowed him to have a little bit more room. And I thought they made a much better effort giving him more easy rhythm throws earlier in the game to get him going, right? It wasn't just run, 3rd and 7, Mertz shotgun throw. It was much more balanced. And quite frankly, there were times in the game where you saw Northwestern, heavy in the box. And you could just tell that they were just trying to stop that running game. And then we start hitting with the pass, and it really messed them up, right? It really caused some issues for them. Braylon Allen did have a quote post-game talking about how it seemed like at times there were less people in the box, and that was kind of interesting. And I think that's because you're throwing it effectively, and you're throwing it in situations that they can't predict. So I thought it was great. Again, 1 game sample size. Don't overreact, but in my opinion, react. Okay. Coming up, we're going to talk about some injury news, player transfers, and get into maybe one other thing that bothers me a little bit about this game that I hope maybe Jim Leonhard fixes, changes going forward. But first, today's show is brought to you by Nissan. Our partners at Nissan have worked with us to create a new segment across the Locked On College Network titled Thrilling Moments. Where we highlight the most exciting plays, moments from the Badgers weekend game or throughout the history of the Badgers. This week's thrilling moment from the Badgers is last weekend's game, right? 2 weeks ago, we did the thrilling moment and we talked about David Gilreath, Ohio State, that huge kickoff return. This thrilling moment is really Jim Leonhard's return, the full circle, right? From being that young high schooler who walked onto Wisconsin, became a All-American safety, went to the NFL, came back as a coach, became a defensive coordinator. And this was like his moment to then become the head coach of Wisconsin, something that had seemed like it's been preordained, right? Like it feels like this destiny, if you believe in such a thing, has been sailing into port for a long time. And it was here. And it was just, it's no shot on Paul Chryst, but it was a ton of fun to see Jim Leonhard in that moment, because I think all Badger fans, you can be a fan of Paul Chryst and Jim Leonhard, right? And I think all Badger fans, even if you feel that twinge of sadness for Paul Chryst, which I do, by the way, also feel that excitement for Jim Leonhard in this moment, his first game, and to perform that well. I think we're all really excited about that. This week's thrilling moment in college football is brought to you by Nissan. The thrilling designs behind the new lineup from Nissan are intended to empower drivers in vehicles as capable as the driver themselves. When I think of the unbelievable abilities on the field this week, I think of Nissan. This segment has been inspired by the thrilling new designs featured across Nissan's new lineup of vehicles. Pursue what thrills you in the all-new Frontier, Armada, or Pathfinder today. Available now at nissanusa.com. All right, I want to thank everyone again for tuning into Locked On Badgers. Ryan Herring's your host, your team every single day. I want to start here. Chez Mellusi injury, wrist injury, arm injury. Jim Leonhard mentioned they don't know how long he'll be gone. That's a major bummer. As a player who rehabbed a ton, tore his ACL last year, to lose him kind of in a game that the Badgers had mostly in control is a major bummer. Hopefully, I haven't seen, originally it was kind of reported that it was maybe a broken arm and maybe it could be a season ender. From what I saw just today, it doesn't look like maybe it's that serious, but it looks like he's out for a while. That's a major bummer. And obviously it's a big depth thing, right? Because you look at the running back depth chart and it's really been Braylon Allen, Chez Mellusi, and Isaac Rendo this year. Excuse me, hold on. Oh, excuse me, sorry. It's really been those three this year. And Grendo also has a propensity to get dinged up, right? Like he's a guy who has had a ton of injury issues, got dinged up already this year once. So if you lose a Mellusi for a while, you really start to look at the depth chart and wonder what happens if Braylon goes down, what happens if Grendo gets hurt again. It gets a little dicey. So that happened. Keanu Benton was hurt. He knocked knees early in the game. He went down. They had to kind of help him off the field. It sounds like it was just kind of, like I said, knocking knees. Doesn't sound like anything major there, and that's a huge deal. Keanu Benton, no need for me to say it, is a huge integral part of the interior of that defense, and they're absolutely going to need him in the games coming up against Michigan State, certainly against Iowa, Minnesota. So it sounds like he's okay. That's a big deal. Alex Smith, we thought Alexander Smith, we thought would maybe play this game. It sounded like Jim Leonhard was trending that way. He did not get in the game. And you start to wonder at some point, I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to speculate, but you hope he didn't have any type of setback, anything like that, and he's good to go. Cedric Dort landed on his head, he made a great play on a deep ball. He kind of landed hard. He was on the field motionless for a while. It sounds like they're looking at him. Sounds like he's doing better, but no timetable there as far as I saw. And then the other one I want to talk about is Deacon Hill, quarterback number 3, came out of California kid from 2 cycles ago, entered the transfer portal. He announced that he's leaving. I don't think it's a big surprise, because he had been passed up by Miles Burkett, who came in last year's class. So when a quarterback gets passed up by a younger quarterback, and then on top of it, the head coach / kind of offensive mind that really helped recruit him in the first place is now fired, the writing's kind of on the wall. And so Deacon is transferring, entering the transfer portal. Jim Leonhard said, and I quote, "We'll do everything we can to support Deacon. I think he's got a ton of talent. I think he's going to be a great quarterback at this level. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen here." And Deacon was a guy with a big arm, but again, we talked about this in the spring. Deacon showed up overweight in a spot where he should be battling and pushing Mertz. And the fact that he didn't really show up in shape and it looked like really ready to go, I always thought that was kind of a bad sign. And it turns out, Burkett passed him. So certainly wish Deacon a ton of success, a ton of luck, but he is entering the transfer portal. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is maybe, I should have put this in segment 1. It's maybe more of a rant thing. The previous staff did this as well. This game's weird, right? Okay, so I want to preface this by this game's weird. It's Jim Leonhard's first game. It felt like a get-right game. I love the energy all the way through. I love the aggressiveness all the way through to the fourth quarter. I don't think we need to see Braylon Allen and Graham Mertz in the fourth quarter of a blowout game anymore. If that happens again, that's a problem, okay, for many reasons. The first, we already talked about. Chez Mellusi's hurt. Isaac Grendo gets hurt a lot. You can't have Braylon Allen taking meaningless hits. I'm sorry, you can't do it. This game's different. I'm fine with this game. I think they had to send a message. It was Leonhard's first game. All good. But you have Julius Davis on the team. You have Shipper on the team. You have Jackson Aker on the team. Listen, there's people that can take when you have to burn the clock carries, okay? And I don't want Braylon Allen getting nicked up in a game that's well decided when we're going to need him to be a bell cow in a bunch of games coming up. The other one is Mertz. There's no quarterback depth, right? The quarterback depth is Mertz, Miles Burkett. And Miles Burkett he's a freshman. So this is an opportunity. I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity in this game to get Miles Burkett a drive, because at any given time and at any given play, Mertz you could tweak an ankle. Things happen. And suddenly you might need Miles Burkett to go into the middle of a game and not be a mess, to be competent. So I thought there was an opportunity there at the end of this game when it's 35-7. You have the ball. Northwestern, there's no chance in Hades Northwestern is winning that game at that point. I thought that was a moment to get Burkett some reps, to let him run the offense and just to see what you have. And to get, not for that game, but to get him more comfortable for moments that almost inevitably come up during a season. So again, this game was a little weird. It's funky. I get it. If we get in that opportunity again, if Wisconsin's in that opportunity again, I would hope that we can work Burkett in, that we can take Braylon Allen out, that we can develop some depth at those spots. But that's that one. Aside from that, that's the show. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, please feel free to join the Discord if you want. We do live giveaways there. We have kind of a private community there, but it's all free. It's all good. It's all about building the community. And with that, make sure you go check out Locked On Big Ten with your host, Nate Dickinson. He brings you all around the conference. On Wisconsin. Sorry, I had to burp there at the very end. A bunch coming up. We're going to talk basketball hopefully tomorrow. And then we have a Michigan State preview crossover the next day. Another player I'm working on coming on to the show coming up. So a bunch coming up on Locked On Badgers. Really appreciate everybody listening on Wisconsin.